get Will in here so we can start a little Q&A. Excited to be doing this. This will be fun. We had fun last time we were doing it too. Hey, Will.
Hey, how are you? Yeah,
Good. How are you?
doing all right, doing all right. It is decidedly colder than Monday here,
Yeah.
but that's all right.
No, same. This wind
So,
is not fun over here.
oh yeah, yeah, no, winter and spring winds never are. Welcome to the bonus Q&A. So we can get this fired up pretty much right away. We do ask that you use the question button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, so that way we can actually show the question to everybody and keep it up while we're talking about it instead of just having to scroll back through the chat and find
hmm
questions. So Ethan, as soon as you see a couple come in, we can get going.
Yeah.
Um,
Just a little heads up for everyone beforehand is like we don't know everything. So if while you're asking questions, I might have to look some things up. Same with Will. Like we might have to like see some things, and we don't know everything. So I mean, we'll just go off what we know. We'll just go off what we know. So the first one we have is best ballad this year, and I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen that many groups. So I want to see more. I plan on this off season watching some videos and maybe having some content with that, and with that, be able to see more ballads this year. Do you have a ballad that sticks out to you so far this year, Will?
well, I mean, this is such a bad week to be asking me this question because I'm going to see a lot of great show choir in the next 2 weeks. But I think as of right now, a ballad that really stands out to me is Cedar Rapids, Washington Momentum. I saw them all the way back in January at Holman, and they were, well, Waconia is great and everything, but
hmm
Cedar Rapids, Washington was the group that impressed me the most with their ballad. They just had this solid choral tone and choral depth that it's so hard to get anywhere outside of Iowa. So I would have
Yeah.
to go Cedar Rapids, Washington.
I mean, just going on from groups outside of Illinois, I saw a video of Linmar earlier in the season. I can't wait to watch the video later. I don't know if there is one out of their last performance yet or not, but I believe it was it what was it morning was it Morning Glow? Not Morning Glow. It was what's the song called?
Golden
Golden Hour.
Hour. Yep.
Golden Hour. And it was phenomenal beginning of the year stuff. So I can't wait to go back and watch it now. Um Looking for some more questions. What is Vibe ranked this year? Wait till the rankings drop tomorrow. Uh, Here's a decent one. Thoughts on Gretna being undefeated?
Do you want to take this one first, or should I take this one
I'll let
first?
you roll. I'll let you roll.
All right. Gretna being undefeated this year is phenomenal. I have nothing against the Nebraska legacy big three of West Side and Millard West and Papio South, but I think that any time that you can have new power players come into the scene, I think it's really good. I don't think it shows that several programs are regressing at the same time. I think it just shows that there are more programs that are getting better. I saw the Gretna traveled out to Grand Island in the more central portion of Nebraska
hmm
this past week, and they cleaned up there as well. The Caitlin Wallace effect is real. The Stephen Todd effect is real. Those are basically my thoughts.
Yeah, and then I just looked it up real fast, and they have a monster competition coming up. And just looking at the lineup again, you have Gretna, North St. Paul. We talked about it on last week's pod, I believed, or this week's pod. Bemidji, Hastings. So on Alaska, it won't be easy, but it would mean something completely different if they won this competition too, to keep their undefeated streak alive against some of these amazing choirs.
I will be
Um,
end, so I
yeah.
see if they remain undefeated or not.
Okay, we're just gonna jump into them. We're just gonna jump into it. Which is better, character shows or shows with just a theme? Wait, what does that mean? Oh, okay. I guess like I mean it would have been better if you said maybe traditional shows, but I mean I just like show choir is what I'm gonna. Can that be my answer? I like show choir. I like every aspect of it. I like that groups do different things because uh, allows show choir to be so different in its own unique way. Like no show choir is the same, and that's what I kind of love about it. Um, shows with shows with characters. If you do it the right way, I love them. Sometimes there's shows that kind of like you don't know where it's really going. I remember watching multiple shows and being like, you didn't get the theme, or the show itself until the very end. Like it like was almost like you had to keep guessing. I don't know if you've had experience with that where it's like you don't know what's really going on until the very end, or someone else has to tell you what's going on. I mean, uh, character shows or shows with just a theme, they're the same to me though. And same with traditional. I like all three.
I kind of get where this is coming from. I come from Wisconsin, obviously, as the username states, and the version of the debate up here is which is better, shows with just a theme or shows that have all numbers from the same musical, because there are a couple
Oh,
schools that do that. And so then obviously if you do the musical thing, right, you do tend to have characters in there. And so I've been around this discussion for a while, and me personally, I tend to lean towards shows with just a theme. That's purely personal preference. Some of the best moments in shows that I've ever seen were from shows with characters or more progressive story shows. I think overall, just from a laziness standpoint, I like not having to interact with a show. I just like to watch the singing and dancing. But on the flip side, this year in Wisconsin, we've had a lot of novelty sets. We have a Treehouse set, we have a Blues Clues set, we have a
oh,
Sunset,
Blue's
we
Clues,
have yeah, we have a Blues Clues set. I didn't see it this
awesome.
year, which is a shame. But we've got so many novelty sets that it's almost like, okay, I could go for a story show or two just to break it up. So I think that's pretty much my thoughts on that.
Um, we have one about a competition. I don't know if you know much about it, but I'm just looking at it right here because I just pulled it up. So at this competition, the ones who stick out to me at the North Viking Cup comp, the Viking Cup comp this Saturday, we have like Elkhorn North, we have Burke, Beatrice, Glenwood Community, Fast Lane. They're always very good. Belleville East, Take
I got to
Two.
cut in here.
You're good.
You're clearly not from Nebraska because you said Beatrice and not Beatrice.
Maybe I was reading too fast.
No,
Beatrice.
it,
Wait, what? Wait, what is it? It's Beatrice, and I said,
Beatrice. Yep.
like the name Beatrice, didn't I?
Yes.
That's kind of, that's funny because I saw a comment image and Atchison Adrenaline. That's kind of a decent little comp going on there.
Yeah, I think that just kind of sorting things out, to me, Grand Island and Omaha South are a
Hmm.
couple of choirs that have had close battles earlier this season. I believe Omaha South came out on top the last time those two saw each other. I think it was like a fourth and a fifth somewhere. I think that may be the one of the two here because I'm looking, and Elkhorn North has been good at times. I think that Atchison is a group that's on the rise. They're a group that's grown a lot throughout the year. Harrisonville is a choir that you can never count out from Missouri. And then I think that's five there.
Yeah,
Grand Island, Omaha South, Harrisonville, Atchison, Elkhorn North. And then at the six, assuming prep groups aren't eligible for finals, at the six, I would take Glenwood from Iowa. So
yeah,
the Omaha North Viking Cup, actually, we have had groups from Wisconsin go to this in the past, so I'm fairly acquainted with the event. I think ultimately this one's too close to call between Grand Island and Omaha South heading into it.
yeah. I mean, my only connection to it, I think Omaha South came to Mount Zion one year when I was hosting, and they had a phenomenal show. I don't think they made finals though, but I think it was really close, and I actually really liked their show. So good luck to all the choirs going on there. And like I said, on pronouncing certain schools and stuff, we're going straight into it. Adam Peters asked, "How do you pronounce?" I won't even say. It. I'll let us. I'll let us go. I'll let us go.
So it's
Yeah.
Solon,
Yep.
Nevada, and Grenada.
Now I will say Nevada. I did not know it was Nevada. That's the one I did not know. I thought it was Nevada until we talked about it recently with Adam on his videos and stuff, and trying to figure out pronouncing how to say certain schools. So yeah, I knew Solon and Grenada, but how?
We're 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 just two guys goofing around with upper Midwest accents. So there's only so much we can do. We can try and get the vowel sounds right, but
Yeah,
it's a
I
case
don't get
where
around as much.
we're
I don't get
constantly working, and we're constantly trying to be better. But that one was a good one. I appreciate that question.
Yes. Thank you, Adam. Some other questions. Ooh, we have one from our contributor, Ella. Whoa. Wheat and Warrenville South Esprit versus Carmel Accents at Lafayette. Jeff, what are we thinking?
I think it's a case of you got two choirs who mostly run different circuits, and they're the best or very close to the best in their respective circuits. And this is just one of those moments that we, as people who are not performing or judging either group, we just sit back and we say they're going to be two phenomenal shows, and someone's going to come out on top and someone's going to come out on second.
No, you're exactly right. Yeah.
I just don't think there's a fair way to compare the two, because if you look at straight up record, Esprit has the 9 competition division winning streak, while Accents has a 0 competition winning streak because they were not first last week. But we all know that Indianapolis is kind of like ground zero east of the Mississippi for women's groups. So a third in the women's division at Franklin Central gets you first by head and shoulders a lot of other places.
No, for sure. For sure.
So I don't know. I'm going to weasel out of this one and not pick a group. Ethan, you got to be the opinion man on this one.
Oh, man. This is tough because, I mean, it's just Carmel goes up against some crazy competition like you just mentioned. And, like, last weekend, we just had, like, one of the greatest single-gender battles in a while with Fisher Sound and all these other Indianapolis groups. So to see Wheat and Warrenville South, who's the best in Illinois, clearly to go at it with one of the best groups in Indiana/Indianapolis, be really interesting to see. But I'm gonna have to take my home state. I'm gonna go Weat and Warrenville Esprit, even though who really knows? I think it can go both ways for sure, undoubtedly.
All right, yeah, and as Ethan cycles to the next question, we are getting some questions in the chat, but those roll by super quick with our notifications for people joining and things like that. So just a reminder, if you weren't in here at the start, if you have a question, submit it using the question mark in a speech bubble button on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Oh boy, Ethan, read this one.
Yeah, so competitiveness in the Midwest/North versus competitiveness in the South. Now, to me, I'm going to split this question up. The north side out of it. I'm going to go just Midwest and South.
Well, I think from a Southern perspective, the Midwest is the North.
Oh, true.
But I think they mean the same thing. Yeah.
Sorry, my bad. But I would probably take the Midwest only because, well, first off, I'm biased. But second off, I think on the Midwest, you can compete against anyone at any comp. Whereas it is to the South, you usually have the same handful of groups that you compete against, usually. I think it was super cool when Homan jumped up to Ross last weekend and they grabbed a GC against some really good choirs up here. Now, I'm not saying how good or not a group is. I'm not saying there's better groups up here than there is down there. I just think with the circuit that keeps going on and on and on in the Midwest, I think it's hard to compete in the Midwest.
Yeah, I would have to also agree with you on the premise that the Midwest is the more competitive circuit. And the reason that I would say that, well, is that number one, when you say the Midwest, you are basically including Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. That's 9 states, compared to the South, mainly Mississippi and Alabama, plus 2 competitions a year in Georgia. Maybe only 1 this year. I don't know if Lakeside is hosting. And then 1 competition a year in Tennessee, which is actually coming up this weekend at Donaldson. So number one, I think that just sheer numbers wise, there are a lot more choirs to be competitive with in the Midwest. And the other thing is that in the South, at a lot of competitions, we see kind of like a pyramid structure for the groups. We see the most groups in small, and then middle, and then large, and then extra large. So it kind of makes this triangle shape. If you think about it, maybe like 7 small mix, and then like 4 middle mix, and 2 large mixed, and 2 XL mixed. At the Midwest, a lot of times we see a kind of inverted pyramid style where we have maybe 3 groups in the prep division, and then like 5 groups in small mix, but then like 8 groups in large mix. And so you kind of have this funnel form, whereas in the South, it's kind of like a pyramid. I think there is a lot to be said in terms of we're seeing a handful of Southern groups come up to the Midwest. This year, we saw Brandon come up to Chesterton, and they were super competitive with Carmel, We saw Homewood come up and clean out Ross. We are seeing Petal come up to Marysville, and Petal's going to face some very stiff competition at Marysville. So, in terms of top end competitiveness, do I think the South is competitive? Yes. But if you threw 6 Southern groups and 6 Midwestern groups in a competition, I think that the average placing of the Midwestern groups would be better than the average placing of the Southern groups. So I'm not trying to diminish the South at all here. I think that the South just needs to grow in numbers, and I know there's so much politicking in terms of like we're gonna have, I think like 38 is the cutoff between middle mixed and large
Hmm.
mixed. So we're gonna have 45 in the choir, and we're gonna have 7 alternates. To me, that makes no sense. I don't know why the South does divisions by group size, but that's just me. I would love to see more Southern powerhouses, but I think just looking at what we got right now, I think I would give it to the Midwest.
That was well said, Will. You were spitting there. You were spitting.
Cooking, cooking.
Yeah. Uh, cooling. Um, what about Troy, Buchanan, Express, and Soundwave? So I got to see Express once this year. I didn't get to stick around for the host performance at their competition earlier this year, but I love Troy. They've competed in 3 competitions since, or no, 2 competitions I believe since, because I think they'll be entering our rankings this week. So check that out too. But they're undefeated up to this point. They've been some very solid choirs. I love their shows always. They always do a great job, great choreography with Stephen Todd and Bobby Picker. Um, they, they they always do shows about love, and I know like during the pandemic, I'm kind of sidetracking you a little bit, but during the pandemic, we all started to do these shows about love, and part of me was kind of like, well, let's kind of get off the love train a little bit. Yes, we all love each other, but every show can't be the same. Uh, the thing is, though, it's different with Troy because I love seeing their shows, even though they are always about love, because it's always a different aspect of what they do. One year they did a super cool show with chairs and oh, the boys wore pink and the girls wore blue, and it was super fun. They did a song called Happy, which is one of my favorite all-time Troy numbers. Uh, but yeah, on Troy this year, they're having a great year so far. And next week, the true battle begins for Express. They're going to be going to Cosby Titan Tournament, and there they're going to see John Burroughs. For those who don't know, Cosby's in Virginia, but they're going to be going up against John Burroughs and Chesterton, two groups that are out of state. And Soundwave is actually going to be competing in Tier 1. So that's actually going to be interesting as well. I don't have much to say about Soundwave as of right now, but again, they're one of the best Tier 2 groups / prep groups in the Midwest at making finals and winning regularly in their division.
Yeah, I can't really say much about their show this year. I haven't seen it. But one thing that has impressed me a lot about Troy for pretty much ever is that Troy is in a very isolated region geographically because St. Louis is not a super big show choir city. In Missouri, it's more like Columbia, Kansas City, and
Mm-hmm.
then down by Joplin. And what's really impressive is that Troy, to me, is kind of like a Jenks or an ALA in that they don't really have a home base. They don't have a home circuit of competitions to go to. I mean, St. Louis is the biggest, closest city. I know they're not really, they're maybe like a most outer ring suburb of St. Louis. But like Marquette is really the only competitive show choir within like any sort of reasonable distance of them. And so to me, the fact that they're able to consistently produce these fantastic shows and compete very well across several different circuits, to me, is a big sign that Troy is a good program.
For sure. You touched on, yeah. It's kind of out there from St. Louis. It's like a 30-minute drive outside once you go across the border from Illinois to Missouri. It kind of doesn't feel like you're in St. Louis after you get out there, but super nice school and amazing competition always. It's so fun to go out there. So if you haven't been to Troy, always got to try. Oh, and their food's amazing. That needs to be uh, what am I?
Are we putting that in our season-ending awards this year? Best comp food?
Oh, we should. That'd be tough though, because I mean, how we can? We should though.
Jassy
Well,
chicken tenders.
oh my gosh.
That's the only comp food I've heard about.
Twinsburg used to be fire. I don't know what it is now, but they used to have like Dairy Queen blizzards. They used to have so many different stuff. I used to like our director would specifically say, "Don't eat too much food because it's like it's so bad for you before finals and all that stuff. Don't drink pop, don't get ice cream, don't all that stuff." We have a really interesting one up here. From another contributor from Wheat and Warville South, a big what if, talking about his own competition. What if Clinton was, where would Clinton place at the Coral Classic this year?
First.
You think so?
I mean, Waubonsie Valley is there. So, I mean, nothing's impossible, but this 2024 Waubonsie Valley is not the Waubonsie Valley that beat Clinton. So,
Amazing.
Look, here's the thing. I think that every year we get bogged down in this same shtick of, well, if Clinton went to different competitions, how would things shake out? And the answer to where would Clinton place at a stacked Midwest event kind of goes back to the question that we had a couple ones ago, in which the question was posed, what's more competitive, the South or the Midwest?
Mm-hmm.
Following a logical premise from that, if Ethan and I both argue from the position that the Midwest is more competitive than the South, and Brandon took a caption off of Carmel at
Chesterton,
and Clinton just beat Brandon by a wide enough margin that Grenada also beat Brandon this past weekend, there's no doubt in my mind that Clinton comes through and cleans the field of the Midwest choirs. The interesting point here is Los Al.
mm-hmm.
I think Los Al is the only choir that we would have a very interesting matchup with. Now, if you're into show choir history, you know about the Los Al Clinton non-compete conspiracy theory. That's not what we're here to talk about. So this Los Al Clinton matchup, while it will never happen, it's great to talk about. I still think that Clinton will win because simply while California shows are forced to innovate every year based off of what they're surrounded by, Burroughs, Burbank, and Los Al, I still think that Clinton would come out on top. So while it's fun to think about, it's not happening. It's never going to happen. Don't ask me why, but it's never going to happen. Ethan, where do you think Clinton would land?
So my one thing is I'm going off the sample size that Clinton leaves for us when going up to competitions in Illinois and going up against some tougher competition. And that was Chatham when Clinton went up there, I believe 2019. I think Petal also, yeah, Petal went up there too. It was Wheat and Warville South, Petal, Clinton, Millard West, Mount Zion. Yeah, I might be missing a few, but Clinton absolutely rocked the house in that place. So they have no problem traveling, as some people might think. I also Chatham is also in a gym, and I think Clinton absolutely rocks in a gym. I don't know, of course, how Los Al would do. That's what I'm very excited to see, like I talked about before, to see how they do in that kind of environment. But when the gym is wall to wall, Clinton shows. And I would probably take Clinton here because I think their sound would resonate very well. Los Al sound would also resonate very well, but I think Clinton might be able to move a little bit better than Los Al, Wheat and Warville South. I don't know though. Of course, we'll never know. Always be
Yes.
that conspiracy theory, like you said.
One quick note here. So this was Glenwood, the event 2019, like you said. Clinton came home in first place, vocals, choreography, and band. Petal was in second ahead of Wheat and Warrenville South. Center Grove was in fourth, which seems
Cedar
crazy.
Grove was there. Yeah.
Than they're having now. Mount Zion was fifth, and Millard West was sixth. On the outside of finals, Waubonsie Valley in seventh, and Mitchell Friendicu in eighth. So that was
that comp
just
was
a monster competition all around.
all right. We kind of already touched on this a little bit, but going on the bigger scale of it, what are your thoughts about oh my gosh, is it Lafayette or Lafayette?
I always say Lafayette.
Lafayette? Okay. Lafayette comp this weekend.
This one was really tough that it didn't wind up in comps of the week.
It was so close.
This one would have been a phenomenal comps of the week preview. I think the main places that LJ would have drawn me are in a couple places. Number one, you just have an absolute killer battle in large mix. Carmel, who was barely second to Cedar of this past week, and North Central, who hasn't seen a ton of top-tier Indianapolis show choir yet this year. Wheat and Warrenville South, who's taken a couple GCs in a couple different states recently. And then Naperville North, who had the infusion of a new assistant director actually from Indianapolis this past year. And you got to throw Ben Davis in there as well. They're more of a fringe Indianapolis large mixed group, but I think Ben Davis would play into this one as well. I don't know. Carmel, Wheat and Warrenville South, North Central, where would that go? I don't know. You also have a really nice small mix division. You've
Yeah.
got a bunch of choirs from different places. You've got like Beach Grove and Warren Central and Cathedral from Indianapolis. And then you've got Twin Lakes from northern Indiana, kind of over by Lafayette. And then you've got Sullivan from Illinois. And so that would be really interesting to me as well. Ethan, what do you think?
I just think it's the headline that I keep thinking about is, well, you look at it and you'd think Carmel and North Central would be at the top two, but was Wheat and Warrenville South upsetting, who was it? Hastings, Bloomington, Kennedy. Um, they're kind of on a
Urbandale,
hot streak right
yeah.
now. Yeah, Urbandale as well. Yeah. So they've gone up against some tough choirs in literally like 1 week. So they're used to this. So it's kind of like, where will the classics end up? I think they're the wild card of this competition. I would probably take Carmel overall, and then I don't know. Wheaton's hot, so I'd probably put Wheaton in second, and the rest of it's super super competitive. Also, something I'm gonna watch out for is Neighbor North Band because they have a killer band, and they beat. Oh, who did they take band from? I think it was Marysville or something. Marysville or maybe Fairfield. It's one of the two because they traveled over to Ohio to begin their year. And if they can snag band against Carmel, Wheat, and North Central, that would be a huge win for their combo. Some more questions. Do. So kind of off the beat, we kind of mentioned it a little bit ago. What do you think about Riverside this year? And if you've seen their ballad, what do you think of it?
I'm seeing Riverside this weekend, and I got a video link of their show sent to me,
Ooh, a little
and I said, no,
preview.
I said no, I said I'm watching them at Totino. I said I am not watching their show on video until I see it in person. So I have no thoughts about Riverside's ballad until Saturday.
I'm excited to see it. I mean, they've got a third place finish, a second place finish, and a first place finish, going down right down the order. So, be excited to see what they do at Totino, because we kind of talked about it a few times. This one, I'm
Third
gonna
place.
this one I'm gonna let you take off rip because I don't know much. Have you looked at Cedar Rapids / Xavier? Well, I know Xavier won this past weekend, which was the first GC of the year, I believe.
Yes, it was
So that's
their
one thing I
first
know
one
so far.
since 2018, actually.
Oh,
Yep. So a big shout out to Exhilaration and their women's group Exuberance as well. Cedar Rapids Xavier is occupying a weird spot in the show choir world because when you think of Cedar Rapids, obviously you think of Lynn Marr, but then you also think of Cedar Rapids Kennedy, Cedar Rapids Washington, Cedar Rapids Jefferson, and Xavier's the private school in there. So, and you also think of Prairie as well, right in that area.
mm-hmm.
So Xavier, I think while they don't get as much attention as a lot of Cedar Rapids groups, I think that they've been very good this year, and they've been a consistent finals group, which is hard to do in Iowa when you are running a tough competition schedule. Marion, which is the comp they won at this past week, and it wasn't the most populous competition. And they were actually in second place in 4A after the daytime awards. And then they pulled in front of a choir from Wisconsin to win the competition. And so it was a caption split. They got best vocals, and the choir from Wisconsin got best choreo and best band. But I haven't seen their show this year, but it's a good season for them. Their director, Phil Schrader, was formerly at Mount Pleasant, and I believe he won once or twice with Mount Pleasant in the early 2010s, and he was also formerly of Vinton Shellsburg High School, which is where my cousins go. So a cool little connection to Cedar Rapids Xavier. Their director used to direct where my cousins go to school. So
Nice.
that's my rip on Xavier's Exhilaration.
We've kind of touched on this one last show, and I believe it was a comp of the week's piece that you wrote on it. So please go check that out after we talk about this just a little bit. But just to go down the mixed division list, for those who don't know, just really fast, we have Carroll Senior, we have Millard South, Lincoln East, who's coming off a huge win. We have Sioux Falls Jefferson, Legacy, Millard West. We have Titanium from Papillion, La Vista South, and then West Side, ATSC. So that's going to be that's a crapshoot because it's going to be super competitive. Just so people know, I'm going to look at the predictions, the community predictions. They have actually Millard West taking it, which is kind of surprising to me off the rip that the community thinks Millard West might take it.
Both
And
captains are split captions?
Both captions. So it's going to go Millard West, and then with both captions, and then West Side second, Lincoln East in third, Papillion La Vista South in fourth, Legacy from Sioux Falls Jefferson in fifth, and Millard South rounding it out at sixth. What are your thoughts on the community predictions?
This is funny because I actually covered community predictions on my Wisconsin podcast this week that I'm hopefully
Oh,
going to.
nice.
I'm actually probably going to publish that right after this is done. The
Go
community
check that
predictions
out.
are interesting because on the one hand, you have people who are in the Nebraska scene and they know about the Nebraska scene who are making these predictions and who probably have seen one or multiple of these shows and they know where these shows are at. But then since this is such a big competition, you also have people like you and me kind of coming in and saying, look, we haven't seen anybody's show in person this year. I was supposed to see Papio South, but that competition got snowed out. I think maybe Millard West too.
Yeah.
But anyways, my moaning about snow aside, people like you and I who have not seen any of these shows, all we know is where groups have placed at the previous competitions, and we just kind of make a go of it. And I think that this is one of those cases where you just kind of toss the top four groups under a blanket and you say, good luck crawling to the other side because
Yeah.
whoever does it first is going to win the competition. West Side and Papio South have and Millard West have combined for 2 wins this year. Actually, no, 3. Because Millard West has one at Troy,
Yep.
and then Millard West also has one at Omaha South, and then West Side has one at Pella. And on a usual year, saying that those 3 groups have combined for only 3 wins this late in the season would be mind-blowing, but we've seen Lincoln East come on really strong this year. We've seen Lincoln Southwest come on really strong this year. We've seen Gretna come on really strong this year. As to who I think will win, personally, give me Lincoln East. I'm going to ride the Lincoln East hot streak, and then I'll go Omaha West Side, Millard West, Papio South, Sioux Falls, Jefferson, and South Lake Carroll. What do you think?
I mean, we already did our predictions, and I kind of love that we're doing this Q&A because it allows me to maybe even change up my prediction a little bit. I kind of don't even remember it because when you look at a field like this, it's like, what did I put? Oh, it doesn't matter. It was probably wrong. So I'm looking at it now. I think Lincoln East is again a wild card, kind of like Wheaton is, or Wheat Morville South is this weekend. Because even though the community put Millard West one, I think I'm going to put ATSC, then Millard West and Lincoln. I don't know. That top three is tough. And then if you count in Papillion La Vista South, on the back end there, on the four, what the community thinks, it's going to be tough. So I think I'm just going to roll with the bigger. Oh man, it goes a little long. But thoughts on how Cedar Grove will stack up as or Show Choir Nationals, especially with Oak Mountain just announcing to competing there.
Okay. First of all, I want to preface this. We are getting some more questions in the chat. Just for people hopping in late, we are only taking questions submitted using the question button on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. So that way we can show them while the entirety that we're talking about them. So if you have a question, we are happy to answer it. Just submit it using the question button. Thoughts on Center Grove at Show Choir Nationals? You know, I was in a group chat earlier today, and this person in the group chat said that Show Choir Nationals has great years and Show Choir Nationals has insane years. And while we don't particularly have the name drawing power that Lynn Marr and Homewood had last year at the top of Show Choir Nationals, we have that in plenty of other ways. We have Center Grove, who is just absolutely on top of Indiana right now. We have Oak Mountain and Grenada, who are both making a ton of noise in the South. We have Findlay, who perhaps has lost to a couple people that we didn't think they would lose to, but they always seem to round into form for nationals. I think that Center Grove essentially sits as much in the driver's seat as anybody does. I think that if you were to ask me this before the beginning of the season, I would think that Findlay would probably be sitting in the driver's seat. But I think that this, honestly, as of right now, with still a couple weekends of competition to go, 3 weekends of competition to go before we hit Show Choir Nationals, I think that Center Grove is in the driver's seat. I would say that right behind them, maybe like 2/10 behind them, is Oak Mountain, Brownsburg, Noblesville, and Grenada, all just kind of in a heap. And then add Findlay and Cedar Rapids Kennedy and Jackson Academy and Fairfield, and I'm already 10 groups deep. So that's the thing about Show Choir Nationals, is that as soon as you put one group at the top, then all of a sudden you're like, crap, where the rest of the groups that I want to put in finals, they're not
Gotta
there.
go somewhere. They
So
gotta go
yeah,
somewhere.
so that's the thing. I think Center Grove, they should make finals. Nothing's ever a guarantee at Show Choir Nationals, but I would say that as long as Center Grove can put up a good performance at Wheat and Warrenville South, they don't need to win the thing. But I would say if Center Grove makes finals at Wheat and Warrenville South with only 4 spots, I would say that's a really good omen for them and their chances of success at Show Choir Nationals.
One thing I'm gonna say is the one thing I do love about Show Choir Nationals is because is on the community predictions, everybody in the world is just trying to put it together like you just said. So like these predictions are nothing what I think is gonna happen at this competition. Besides maybe Center Grove winning, the community has it as of right now a sweep with Center Grove taking it. Then they have Finley in the 2-hole. Then we have Fairfield third, and then we have Brownsburg in the 4, Glenwood at the 5, and Grenada at the 6. Isn't that's not what I would expect from the
Here's the
competition.
thing. The lineup was announced on
Oh,
August
you're right.
in
You're right.
August, right? Because you got to register for this thing 2 years out, 2 years to like a year and a half. The lineup for this was announced in August. Like, I'm sure there are a lot of people, myself included, who in late August or early September is like, shoot, I'll make a prediction. And then we just haven't gotten back around to it yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as we get in the week right beforehand, I think that'll shift a lot.
Yeah. I mean, groups that I'm looking out for are definitely Noblesville. I think Noblesville has a good shot to make a good showing at this competition. I know they've gotten third at some competitions, but they've also won. They could be rather early for the Indiana circuit. So I know they made our rankings earlier than some other Indianapolis choir or Indiana choirs, which was kind of shocking because it was always like them for like 4 straight weeks. I was like, when is everyone else going to catch up to Noblesville?
Yeah,
They've had a
they
really good year this year.
they came out at Beaver Creek, which was the second weekend of January. It's one of the not snowed out comps that weekend.
Yeah,
And like
right.
nobody else in Indianapolis started competing until maybe Ball State 2 weeks later, or I forget what the big competition on February 4th was. But yeah, they've been out there early and often, and if they can keep a show tight for that long, all the more credit to them.
Oh yeah. And then there's some question marks on some of these final placements for me. Is like, so is Fairfield going to get a top spot? Or are they going to make the next day? If I mean, they're a veteran choir and they know how to do it. They've gone to competitions like these all the time. So a part of me says yes. I know that they've kind of having it's not like one of those crazy Fairfield years they used to have, but they're still such a solid choir. I think Glenwood. I think they're on a final streak at nationals. I think that might end here. That's all. I think they're gonna be right on the bubble with them and a few other choirs. Like you said a little bit ago, it's gonna be. Uh, it's almost impressive to see who makes finals over who wins the whole competition.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things is like if you make finals, you're legit. And like yeah, that was a great question. That was a great question. I
Yeah.
haven't been looking, but oh, I just clicked a random one. I didn't even look at it. Oh, best 3 groups in the South. Clinton, Homewood.
Grenada.
It's gotta be Grenada. It's gotta be Grenada.
Well, here's the thing. You say it's got to be Grenada, but is it Oak Mountain?
Ooh. See, Oak Mountain has always kind of been. I hate to say it this way, but when you think of top groups in the South, Oak Mountain's almost an afterthought, kind of, because you think of those big ones right away, and you think of the rise that Brandon's had recently. So they keep coming into my head too. That's why I was kind of complacent about maybe Grenada or Brandon, but then you bring in Oak Mountain, and man, I don't know. You know what? I'll go Oak Mountain, or you go Oak Mountain. I'll go Grenada. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Okay, sure. We can do that. One thing that I want to point out about Oak Mountain is that this is very much like a growing program. Like
Yeah.
Michael Zokin, their director, he has been there since 2014, but I think there's been a noticeable shift in this program, especially in the post-pandemic years, if you look at the choreographers they're using, you'll notice a lot of similarities between them and a certain Clinton Attaché. Gavin Dover, their assistant director, came from, I believe, Albertville, and in his very short time with Albertville, I think he was doing a lot of good things with Albertville. And so when you have two good directors and you've got five good choreographers, I don't think Oak Mountain is going to be an afterthought for much longer. I mean, they swept Pedal, and
Yeah,
they're going up against Brandon right this weekend at Tift. And so if they sweep Brandon, like it's like I don't know how, but then Grenada is sweeping people too. This is why I leave the Southern podcasts to the Southern people.
exactly. Same.
Yeah,
I tune into them. They don't tune into me to talk about the South. I tune into
so
them.
real, so real.
And then, of course, we have Trey, who's amazing. And they made that meme about him writing 4 articles.
Yeah, and then he submitted an article to me that night at 1 a.m. and I was like, dude, what are you doing?
He took it to heart. I
So
was like,
if we had any contributors of ours who are watching right now, or if you just write for any other blog site, do not feel the need to submit articles to your editor at 1 a.m. He's not going to see it until the next morning anyways.
love the grind, though. Love
Yeah.
the grind.
Yeah, the grind set is real. Just get to our next question.
Yeah, need more people like Trey. Thoughts on Glenwood comp this weekend. So I am planning to be at Glenwood this weekend. It ended up being one of our comps of the week this year. And is that, do you write on that or no?
Yes,
Yeah,
that
or
is
you do.
Yep.
'Cause I thought you did the write-ins, but just making
Yep.
sure. Um, in terms of Illinois, this comp is crazy. We drop our Illinois poll rankings tomorrow, which are going to be completely messed up the next day by this, probably. So those who don't know, we have Wabanzi Valley Soundcheck, Mantino Magic, who just got a win recently. I believe that was at El Paso, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you have Peoria Area Soundwave, and you have Marquette Center Stage, then you have El Paso Gridley Modulations, who have resurrected their program, and they've been doing crazy this year. Top group in Illinois. Oh, no, wait. They're second, I believe, as of right now, because Weat and Marble just had a crazy win. And then you have Mount Zion rounding it out. So you have some top choirs from Illinois here. The tier 2 is Unity, who they got second at a competition. I know it was majority tier 2 groups, but second at a competition, I mean, that was a great outing. Pekin, who I haven't got to see yet, and Piotone, who have been decent so far. And then single clef, you have Mount Zion, both single gender groups. You've got male and less femmes. You have El Paso Gridley's High and Fiddly.
Fidelity.
Oh my God. Is it Fidelity?
Fidelity.
Oh, Fidelity.
Yes.
Now I know. And then we have Wabanzi Valley Resonance. So if you don't know, everything shakes up Illinois from here. After this, who knows where it's going to go? I personally think if Mount Zion's going to win a competition, it has to be here, especially before Wheaton. So, and after Wheaton, they go off to the East Coast, so that'll be interesting to see too. So, I think if Mount Zion's going to win, they better win now. So, I'm going to go Mount Zion, El Paso. I'm going to give the edge to Wabanzi Valley and then Mantino, and then the rest of the rest. I think maybe Mount Zion might sneak a single gender group in there.
All right. Yeah. I just want to say real quick, it is 6:45 or 7:45 or 4:45, depending on where you're watching us from. So one final call to submit questions using the question button here. And so hopefully we will be able to perhaps move into a little bit of a rapid fire mode.
Yeah.
Because we've got 15 minutes left here. You're the Illinois guy. You are the one that has the spot on predictions for this. I'll just give predictions a whack here. I'll take El Paso at the 1, Mount Zion at the 2, Mantino at the 3. I saw Mantino's show this year. I think it's a good show. I will take Wabanzi at the 4, Marquette at the 5, and then I will take El Paso's girls at the 6.
Ooh.
So,
all right. So we're gonna do this one because I think the rest we might be able to go really fast with. I know we've kind of talked about it already, but Zach asks, who might not make finals? I think everyone besides La Salle and Cinder Grove might not make finals. Is that the right answer? I don't know.
I think that's the right answer. The other thing is that we still don't have a definitive answer on whether time limits are going to be enforced during the day or not, because you look at the schedule. So the first performance is Pleasant Hill Powerhouse. It's their men's group at 7:30 a.m. The final prelims performance is Mitchell Frendeku at 7 p.m. And everybody gets 25 minutes. Everybody, including Los Al, 25 minutes. Los Al, 5:45. Mount Zion, 6:10. So it's 10 minutes shorter than the big California groups get. So I think if they are not enforcing time limits, I think Los Al and Cedar Grove are as close to locks as you can get for finals. If they are enforcing time, I don't think anybody's safe. Because
Exactly.
that a lot of those big Indiana choirs, while they may not be to the level of the big California groups, they are still known for screens and sets and props and this and that. So with 25 minutes, I mean, then you look at like Mount Zion too, and they've got a whole another riser setup for this year. And then you look at some of these other groups that have some kind of stuff going on with their shows, and it's like you really don't know because, frankly, with final awards scheduled for 12:15 a.m., like you might as well just run till the time jumps from 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. because it's the time change weekend. So who's not making finals here? Mitchell is looking kind of vulnerable. They have lost a couple more competitions than I think they would have liked. Mount Zion, just kind of working backwards from the last prelim performances. Zionsville, I'd say, is a group that if they can come out, I forget who they're facing this weekend, but they're facing somebody this weekend. And if Zionsville can pull off a win here, I think they'll be an okay bet for finals. Broken Arrow's an interesting one because they've run over everybody they've faced so far this year, but they haven't really run the gauntlet yet. Lincoln Southwest is a group that we thought were invincible until last weekend. Pleasant Hill is a group that you think is on the outside looking in. El Paso is arguably the second best group in Illinois, but you don't know if that's going to be enough. Yeah. And then Waubonsie, Broken Arrows prep, Pleasant Hills prep, Twin Lakes, Lincoln Southwest prep, and Waseca probably on the outside looking in.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just going to say something really quick is because you touched on the majority of it. The time slot from, I don't know, I'll rope in, I'll just go Zionsville. Let's go from 5:10 to 7, supposedly. I'm telling you, it's going to go over like 45 minutes. I'm telling you right now. And you went off all the reasons because I know Zionsville usually has screens. We have a riser change and we have a huge backdrop this year from Mount Zion, like bigger than we've ever had. And I mean, from what I've heard, they kind of had some trouble getting it on stage at Cedar Grove. So some things there. And then Cedar Grove, of course, they have the whole thing with the risers, how they put the white things underneath to make. And then you have Mitchell, who always has fantastic sets. So that I'm telling you, this competition might get done at 1:30.
Yep. So there's a 10-minute break in the schedule in between Zionsville and Los Al. And then after that, it's just full bore Los Al, Mount Zion, Cedar Grove, Mitchell, and then Wheat and Warrenville South, the classics to round out prelims. I got a concert in Chicago to go to that night, so I hope that I can make it there.
Yeah, don't be surprised.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
Don't be surprised if they cut any break. I bet they cut all the breaks.
Yeah, there ain't gonna be breaks. No. Any idea about the Burbank comp coming up this weekend? Yeah, this was another one of our comps of the week. Maybe we should just have titled this comps of the week.
Yeah, comps of the week.
Burbank, I think the main storylines are number one, you've got Los Al and Burroughs facing off. It's the first time that two advanced mixed Division I choirs have faced off in California so far this year. And then advanced mixed 2 is an interesting one. I think that Hart's going to take the win there. But then really having no novice mixed division is really a head scratcher to me because I look at this lineup: Martin Luther King, Saugus, Eisenhower, Los Al Connection, Granada Hills, Oceanside, John A. Rowland, John Burroughs, Soundwaves, and Cypress. To me, and I'm not from California, I'm from east of the Mississippi, so what do I know? But I look at groups like MLK, Saugus, Eisenhower, Granada Hills. Those are novice groups. So
yeah,
it's just good in the novice division. Like, so I don't understand why we have to have 10 groups in intermediate mixed. I'm sure there's a reason why. I would like to know that reason, but all I know is that they better announce all the places in intermediate mixed because I need to figure out where choirs are going to be.
Yeah, we need to figure out where they stand after this. Just to keep it simple, I'm going to keep this, my ranking for Tier 1 the exact same how it was last time. I think John Burroughs wins on time penalty. If that makes you, I don't know, think whatever you want. Next one, predictions for Solon, because now we're doing a rapid fire in the last 10 minutes.
How do we say the word?
Solon.
Okay.
I say Solon.
All right, good. Just wanted to check since we had a question about it earlier.
I know, but thank goodness I knew about. Oh my gosh, is it Music and Motion? No.
Yeah. Yes, Music and Motion. So Solon's an interesting one. You got Findlay, and then you've also got Grove City, and you've got Piqua. And Findlay, is going to come under fire here. Let me check and see how many finalists this competition returns from last
Oh
year.
yeah,
But
that's a good
that'll be
lineup.
interesting. So Findlay, Marysville, ETC, Grosse Pointe South, ETC, Medina. So this competition returns two finalists because Medina's in middle mixed.
I was gonna say yeah.
Going to come under all the attacks it can get from Grove City and Piqua. Lowell coming in from Massachusetts is very interesting as well. Honestly, I think I got to go with Grove City. They've got the hot hand, and I think it'll be Grove City, Findlay, Piqua, Lowell, and then give me Medina and Twinsburg to round out finals.
Ooh, Twins are making finals. Kind of love to see
Twins
that. I'm
growing throughout this year.
yeah. I'm gonna go with Grove City, like you said, and then I think Finley is coming up right behind them. Finley just hasn't showed us anything yet after losing some comps we didn't think they would lose. So, that's our thoughts on that. Thoughts on, you know what? We're just gonna no wait. What do you think about Newcastle, the Red Hot Blues, which I love that name so much. The Red Hot Blues are gonna place at Avon.
This is interesting because there's been a little bit of a kerfuffle around Newcastle recently in regards to their last competition. So interesting that this one comes up. So yeah, this is yet another comps of the week question. I'll be fast here. Small mix on Friday night only has three groups in the mixed division: Pendleton Heights, Newcastle, Mooresville. With Mooresville at 9:15, Newcastle at 9:45, and Pendleton Heights at 10:15. Well, I always forget how late these things go.
Yeah.
Pendleton has just looked super strong throughout this entire year. I think they've run a little bit of a tougher comp schedule than Newcastle has. Mooresville is also interesting because Mooresville is one of those more slept-on choirs, but I think they could also make some noise here. Ultimately, I see this going Pendleton Heights 1, Newcastle 2, Mooresville 3.
The most random one, just personally, what school have you gone to and that you think runs a really good competition?
You go first because you always talk about, well, when I went to Twinsburg, when I went to Troy, when I went to here, there, and everywhere. Back when I was competing against Clinton at Glenwood, you're the one that has the story, so you're up to bat.
I can't wait for a story show because I mean there's so many, but it's so hard to talk about best ran comps because you only think of the bad ones. It's so like I remember a competition where we went and we were there till 2 a.m. or we didn't perform until like 1:30 in the morning and it was rough. It was so bad. But I think Naperville North runs a really good competition. It's criminally underrated. I think more groups should go to Wheaton or not Wheaton, Naperville North. The Clash. Also, that intro theme song. This is the Clash. Everyone needs to go. Everyone needs to go to Naperville at some point.
We see a question in the chat. We're gonna save that for another time.
I could go way in on that.
I have much more local experiences. So of Wisconsin, I gotta say Holmen. I've been there I think 5 times now through different directors there, and regardless of who is in charge, super well run competition. Always good concessions. They clearance out their soda after finals. So
we need a concession show.
I was gonna 6-pack of Mountain Dew for the road. I don't need 6, but I get 6. And yeah, so I gotta say Holman.
That's a good one. Wait, I know we talked about this a little bit ago, but was that the competition I was supposed to go to?
Yes.
So I missed out on that. Dang.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh well. Some of these comments are more of the same.
We could have met each other in a different life. That's crazy.
Dude, that's insane. And it was all because of Homie wouldn't allow us to have extra risers. Insane. Or our riser setup was too big or something. I don't know. It was something like that. Looking at the comments, really quick. We're just talk about Danville delegation really fast. I think they're having an amazing year. I think them dropping down to tier 2 doesn't make them as strong. I mean, I think they're one of the best tier 2 groups, and I think they are the best tier 2 group in the state. Of course, Danville was known as this really good choir that would always be battling it out with other groups in mixed one. I was kind of sad to see Danville not hold a competition this year because I was really hoping to go. It's only like 45 minutes away from me, and the theater itself is really cool because Dick Van Dyke was an alumni there, so it's named after him, and they have a great show and a great stage, and yeah, I think Danville delegation's having a really good year this year. Do you have any thoughts on that? While I try to find a quick few more.
Not Danville delegation, but Danville Executives, go men's choirs.
Go men's choirs always. As a guy from Mount Zion, you've got mail. I love my men's choirs. This is a really random one, but we're gonna go with it. Thoughts on Naperville North combo and how they would place at Lafayette? Like I said a little bit ago, I think they could win it. I think they could win combo. Um, I think they have a really good shot of winning it. Carmel again is really strong. Combo group. I know. What's North Central is another really good group there, and you always can't count out their neighbor, Wayne Warville South. But I think Naperville North took combo away from Marysville earlier this year, and I think they have a really good choir and combo. They're a combo in Deep Prairie. Is it Deep Prairie? It's Deep Prairie, right? From Wisconsin.
I don't know.
Deep Prairie?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay. No, there's no. Well, they also have a really good band, and I feel like if those two bands went up against each other, it'd be a great show.
Yeah, I don't know who's eligible for bands in Indiana, so all I got to say is they got a cool name, the Hot Rockets.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Awesome band name. Oh, what's the...
Dude, we got 2 minutes. You got to roll to the next
I know.
We got to give the people what they want.
Favorite contributor at Homeroom Show Choir?
Myself. Next question.
Yeah, I was gonna say myself too. What do you think of the progress of Omaha South Ambassadors this year? You talked on it a little bit.
Yeah. Good group. They have been under the direction of Tyler Buchowitz. No, not Tyler Buchowitz. Tyler Grudemeyer for some time now. And I think that they're a program that runs one of the hardest competition schedules I've seen year in and year out. So Omaha South is a group that while they may be winning a competition this weekend, I don't know, it would be a really deserved win for them. In my records, it would be their first win ever. And so the Ambassadors, I've always heard good things about their innovative shows. I forget, 2 or 3 years ago, they had a show design that like everybody loved. Have never seen one of their shows. Great respect for them as a program.
All right, and then we're going to finish up with this last one because we haven't talked about them yet. Huntington North Varsity Seniors. Opinion, space, question mark.
I'm not a voting member on our Indiana poll rankings panel, but I simply do not understand why they do not have Huntington North first in small school. I get that schools like Pendleton are great. I get that schools like Roncalli are great. But by golly, Huntington North, for being an ISSMA small school, and by the way, I'm not from Indiana, so I can say this. I think that the ISSMA school split of like 1,600 kids and above is large, and anything below that is small. I think that's ridiculous. Huntington North, my goodness, they've come to different states this year. I believe they were in Illinois at Mantino.
Yeah,
and
it was up north. Yep.
They did really well there. And I'm looking forward. I don't know if they'll be at ISSMA small show or small school state, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do for the rest of the season.
The thing is, though, is I consider Roncalli now as tier 1. So are we considering them tier 2?
They were large mixed, I think, at Pike because Pike does their divisions based off group size. But for the groups or for the comps that are ISSMA sanctioned, I think Roncalli has to be small mixed in order to qualify for small school state.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I mean, that wraps up our Q&A. I appreciate everyone for coming in here. I mean, we need to do more of these. We had so many questions we couldn't even get to. Anything you want to say? I'll be at Chatham this weekend. Come up and say hi.
Yeah, I'll be at Totino this weekend. Come up and say hi.
Hey, we're now at 2 comps of the week.
There we go. Yeah. We talked about. I think we talked about literally every single comp of the week tonight. So that's fantastic. Yeah, we did this on a whim tonight. So thank you guys so much. We had questions to last us the full hour, and we've still got some in the queue. So hopefully we can make a more regular habit out of these. And we will see everybody on Monday with episode number 10 of Show Choir Nation.
We're going to reach a decade. That's crazy.
Yeah, or just 10 weeks. A little short of a decade, but you know.
Oh yeah, you're right. All right, thank you everybody for tuning in. See ya.
Guys.